It's a father's worst nightmare, a twin brother's darkest day. On April 2nd, 2025, 17-year-old Austin Metcalf, a standout student athlete at Memorial High School in Frisco, Texas, was fatally stabbed during a track meet and died in his twin brother's arms. Then Austin's father quickly went public, saying what happened had nothing to do with race and expressed forgiveness for Karmelo Anthony, the boy who killed his son. Today, Anthony's defense team was holding a press conference, and when Austin's father showed up, they called police to remove him. Tonight, all the latest details. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, California, day one of a huge two-day hearing for convicted double murderers Erik and Lyle Menendez as they continue their attempt to get released from prison. Tensions were high inside and outside the courthouse, and tonight we have a live report from LA with today's most important details. But first, terror in Tallahassee as gunfire erupts in the middle of the day, in the middle of the student union, in the middle of the campus of Florida State University. Videos were posted across social media capturing part of the attack and the reaction across campus. Tonight, all the most up-to-date information about the victims, the shooter, and the details of what happened today. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. It's been a while since we've done this, but you know we're going to do it, and you know we're going to be doing it again, talking about a school shooting. But I'm going to start not with the school shooting that happened today. Let's go back to Dallas, Texas, in a high school that was secured, that would check people coming in and out of the school. One of the students brought a gun inside. That student fired that gun, shot several classmates. Then what did he do? He went on social media, posted a video of himself, basically a confession, but talked about it, talked about why he did it. Well, how did he do it is also a question for this shooting in Dallas. It's a secure school, like I said. He turned himself in after posting that video of a confession. And what investigators believe happened is that another student opened up a side door to let him in, to bypass the school security. That's what's happening in Dallas. So today's another day, and today is another shooting. This one at Florida State University, FSU. It's a college campus. So how did it happen is a lot easier to figure out. It's a wide open campus. If you've ever been there down in Tallahassee, 44,000 students, public university. You can just drive down, park your car, and you're on campus. I know, I've done it. I had a child that went there. So it's an open campus. So the how of a shooting can take place at Florida State University is very obvious. It wasn't a secured facility like the high school in Dallas. This is an open campus, public university in the middle of Tallahassee. Anyone can wander on, anyone can wander off. So the real question in this case turns to why. Why did this happen? Why did this young adult feel the need to create absolute terror and harm to classmates who are just trying to live their lives, get an education, and make themselves productive members of society? They're going to college. You should be able to go to college. But it's one of their apparent classmates who's responsible for all of this. Now, to show you how open and wide all of this is, Everyone's got a cell phone. Everyone's got a camera. So there have been a lot of videos posted on social media. There's one video that appears to show the shooter on the FSU campus. This was posted to Twitter today by Souls Web 3. Now, I've got to warn you, the video is disturbing, though you cannot see anyone actually being shot here. I should warn you, it is graphic. Let's take a look. Just walking through campus, like in the middle of the camp. All this is happening near the student union. And it's in the middle of the day. The middle of the day when most people would be there. Whether you're, going from class to class, meeting a classmate, grabbing something to eat, grabbing something at the books. There you are in the middle of the campus, and someone is walking around with a weapon and firing it. So let's take a listen to the sheriff, Walter McNeil, down from Leon County, because there's a twist to this when it comes to the identity of the shooter and where the shooter got the weapon. Let's take a listen.
The question as relates to who is the shooter. The shooter is 20-year-old Phoenix Ikner. And he's the son of a Leon County Sheriff deputy. Our Deputy Ikner, has been with the Leon County Sheriff's Office for over 18 years. She has a tremendous job that she's done. Her service to this community has been exceptional. Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons, and that was one of the weapons that was found at the scene. And we will continue that investigation into how that weapon was used and what other weapons perhaps he may have had access to. The alleged shooter was also a long-standing member of the Leon County Sheriff's Office Citizen Advisory or Youth Advisory Council. So he has been steeped in the Leon County Sheriff's Office family, engaged in a number of training programs that we have. So it's not a surprise to us that he had access to weapons.
Weren't expecting that. So the son of an 18-year veteran deputy, a deputy who in March was Employee of the Month. And this shooter, this killer, used the service weapon of his mother. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, former homicide prosecutor, co-host of Primetime Crime on YouTube, Jarrett Ferrantino is with us. Also here, retired criminal defense attorney Kirk Nurmi, and former federal prosecutor, president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani as well. Okay, Jarrett, I'll begin with you, and there's a couple different places we can go here, right? School shootings is always, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Looking at the how of it, let's begin there. It's an open campus, there's no way to secure it. But the access to the weapon, that becomes an issue now because he's using a Leon County deputy's weapon, his mom's weapon, to commit this heinous mass shooting. Your thoughts about what that means and what the impact of that will be on all the people involved here, him, his mom?
I mean, Vinnie, good evening. I mean, what a tragedy. It just it compounds the tragedy. You have what's being reported was his mom's former service weapon. So she purchased, which is fairly typical in law enforcement, her former service weapon when the sheriff's department upgraded their weapons. The next question is, what was going on in this young man's life and who knew about any difficulty he was having and what steps were taken to prevent him from having access or to get him some kind of intervention? You know, the sheriff made a statement, it's no surprise he has access to weapons. Well, it is a surprise that this was committed with a sheriff's department former service weapon. So someone has to ask and get answers to some of those big questions.
Kirk, what are your thoughts here about access? Because that's the issue right here, right? It's not like how did he get into the school? It's an open campus. We don't know the why of it yet. We don't know, what was going on with him personally, whether there's any sort of mental health issues. But the access to the weapon that was used becomes a very significant part of all this now.
It really does, and it harkens back when we talk about access, receiving access from a weapon to a parent. Relates directly to Ethan Crumbley, right? His parents put a weapon in his hand and when he was too young to own it, things of that nature that brought out charges. But here in this situation, we have a 20-year-old, and how did he access that weapon from an officer? Was she negligent in storing it, what have you? As Jarrett mentioned, were there signs of mental illness that were ignored? There's all that specter around it, and will prosecutors attempt to take the precedent we saw in the Crumbleys and move it into Florida and try to hold her to account? That's going to be one of the interesting details as this unfolds, because it's certainly going to be different circumstances, but the principle still could apply.
Yeah, and the difference is it's not a child in the home. He's an adult. I mean, he's 20 years old. He's actually part of the Leon County Deputy Sheriff's program, the Youth Action Committee. So let's take a listen to the chief now from the FSU Police Department talking more about some of the details.
At approximately 11:50 a.m. Thursday, April 17th, a gunman opened fire on the main campus of Florida State University in Tallahassee, shooting multiple individuals in the vicinity of the Student Union building. FSU police responded immediately, engaged, neutralized, and apprehended the shooter. 2 victims are deceased, and 5 individuals have been transported to a local hospital with gunshot wounds. The shooter has also been transported to a local hospital.
All right, Nima, the other issue that'll be hanging over this case, you've got 2 fatalities, 5 others being treated in the hospital. It's a school shooting. It created incredible terror today for everyone on that campus. Is this a potential death penalty case?
Vinny, it is a death penalty case, especially there in Florida. We know how they changed their laws in response to Nicholas Cruz, the Parkland school shooter, the worst school shooting in American history, to require less than unanimous jury consent for a death sentence. So there's no doubt in my mind that this is going to be a death penalty case, absent some severe evidence of mitigation that we're unaware of. Significant mental health issues. Obviously, you can't put someone who's mentally ill on death row. The Supreme Court has made that clear. But short of that, Vinny, you have a 20-year-old. This is not someone who's a minor. Obviously had access to the weapon. And speaking of the access, let me just be clear. Nothing will come of the unlawful access to the weapon. Florida law is pretty clear. Unless the access is to a minor under the age of 16, it's not criminal. Mom may be sued civilly, but obviously that's not going to put her away. So this is just going to be a case against the shooter, and I think it will be a death penalty case.
Yeah, and everything we've heard about his mother, like I said, employee of the month last month, 18 years in the department with no issues, nothing but good things they had to say about her. Jarrett, so what becomes the focus of this case for prosecutors in the investigation part of it? Is it trying to figure out the why of it, or is it just kind of buttoning up what actually happened here?
Well, Vinny, a little bit of both. You have to reverse engineer what was going on in this young man's life, of course, try to develop a motive. Everybody says you don't have to prove motive. It's certainly part of the story and how this unfolded. The other thing is FSU is now a crime scene. Everything has to be processed like this is going to be a full-blown trial. And like Nima said, this is probably going to see the inside of a civil courtroom as well. So right now, prosecutors are seeking answers for the time frame before the shooting, during, and the aftermath.
Kirk, what is the defense doing? Are they focused, do you think, at this point solely on the big issue that Nima was talking about, the death penalty?
Yeah, ultimately, and that goes to the question of why. So when you talk about this kind of case, it really is not, it's a matter of whether it's going to be a life sentence or a death sentence. So what the defense is going to want to do in a case like this is get a psychological evaluation as close to the time as that they can, so they can, close to the event as they can, so they can understand what is going on in the best manner possible. And then they're going to want to be talking to mom, to friends, to see if there's any evidence of any mental health issues, what was going on, take a look at some of those social media accounts, to put together a full profile, to go to a prosecutor or what have you and say, don't charge death, we will plead a life. So that's going to be their sole focus if he has a counsel right now.
And Nima, the other part of this that strikes me, with all his connections to law enforcement, his mother, plus being a part of this program for so many years, it seems he knows what the response is going to be. And I'm wondering if this was some sort of a suicide wish or mission that he was on. He did get wounded. He did not get killed. And I'm wondering how significant that will play a role in trying to figure out what happened here.
I think it's very significant if this is suicide by cop situation. I think we're lucky that he just used the handgun. He also had a shotgun that was not used. He didn't have an automatic or even really a weapon that could cause significant damage. But absolutely, I think that's part and parcel of the story, why he did this. If he wanted to be killed himself instead of spending the rest of his life in prison or being on death row, those are questions, you know, great defense attorneys like Kirk and others are going to have to answer when they're putting on some sort of mitigation package, either presenting it to prosecutors or ultimately to a jury.
All right. Obviously, we're going to stay on this story and try to figure out where exactly he's going and answer that question why. But coming up, we're going to talk about convicted double murderers, Erik and Lyle Menendez, back in court on the first day of what's supposed to be a 2-day hearing, trying to get released through a resentencing. We'll get the latest from Los Angeles, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates the doomsday cult killer Lori Daybell, getting ready to wrap up her latest murder trial. And we're asking, is she enjoying this trial?
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
We're here to try and understand the mindsets behind your actions in this case.
Interview with a Killer, new episode, Sunday at 8 on Court TV.
So if the Menendezes go ahead and want to, at any point, whether it's today, whether it's weeks from now, months from now, or years from now, finally and unequivocally express that they and acknowledge the lies that they have told and persisted in for over 30 years, then we will certainly evaluate the quality of that sincerity and decide whether or not it's real or fake, whether or not it's just designed to get out of jail, or whether or not they truly believe and acknowledge the full breadth of the crimes and lies they have told in deciding what to do at that point. And as importantly, the court will have to make that decision, and that decision is the court and the courts alone to make.
And that's the L.A. District Attorney, Nathan Hochman, who is now in charge of that office and is one side of the Menendez quest to get released. Now, Nathan Hochman's predecessor, the man that he beat in the most recent election, wanted to release the Menendez brothers. But Nathan Hochman does not want them released because they have not accepted responsibility for what they've done. And acceptance of responsibility is coming clean, admitting what you've done. And from his perspective, they haven't done that. They have not done that and have continued to not tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And from his perspective as the DA, as the DA in LA does not believe these double murderers should be released if they don't fully accept responsibility and give truthful accounts of what they did and admit the lies that they have told. So until that happens, he's not on board with it. But that's not stopping the process. It's in front of the judge. They were in court today, supposed to be a 2-day resentencing hearing to see if the Menendez brothers could be resentenced and then be eligible for parole, and then go before the parole board and get the signature of the governor and perhaps get released. So something happened today. A lot happened in LA today. And joining us on the phone from the LA County Courthouse in Van Nuys, Scripps News investigative reporter Austin Grabish is with us. Austin, thanks so much for joining us. I know it's a busy, busy day for you. My understanding is that resentencing hearing is now on hold.
Yeah, that's right. The resentencing hearing is on hold until this week's day. You know, the day started off with fireworks. Really, a lot of accusations were being thrown around inside the courtroom this morning from the defense attorney for Erik and Lyle Menendez, about a year ago. The LA district attorney is having conflict of interest. Been saying he went to the same high school as the Menendez brothers, and that's one of the reasons that he gets thrown off the case. So there's a lot that happened, a lot of fireworks, but the big headline coming out of it today is that this is all now on hold.
So now there was a curveball today from the governor's office. What was that all about?
Yeah, there was a pretty surprising curveball from the governor's office in that the governor told the judge that there was a report recently done by the parole board called a comprehensive risk assessment on both Lyle and Erik Menendez, and that report was being made available to the court according to the judge. The governor's office wanted the judge to consider this report or at least be aware of it. And then there was a lot of confusion about if this report could even be used or not, because the governor's office at one point, according to the judge, had told the court that there was something called executive privilege. So that report couldn't actually be admitted into court. Obviously, the defense attorneys for the brothers do not want this report to be admitted. They think it might be detrimental to their case in getting the brothers released from prison in San Diego. But the judge said he will rule on this at a later date.
Unbelievable. So many twists and turns in all of this. How about the family, the Menendez family?
Well, you know, the family showed up here bright and early along with supporters of the Menendez brothers from all over the U.S. There was even a supporter here from Chicago, but I can tell you the family left disappointed. One of the Menendez brothers' relatives spoke to reporters at the end of the court hearing today and said, you know, we've had a lot of delays in this court process so far. There were the L.A. wildfires. There have been other procedural delays, but we didn't expect this. And they were really disappointed as they walked out, but they said they will come back here in May, and they will keep coming back here as they fight to get Erik and Lyle released from prison.
Austin Grabish in L.A. Thank you so much, Austin. Appreciate it. Let's bring back in our think tank. Still with us, Jarrett Ferrantino, Kirk Nurmi, and Nima Rahmani. Nima, you're in L.A. Let me ask you, it's interesting. Like, everyone's getting impatient. I'm like, can we just slow the roll here a little bit? We are talking about releasing convicted double murderers who were eligible for the death penalty, didn't get the death penalty, got a break and got life without parole, and now we're talking about getting released. So it seems like everyone's in a big rush here all of a sudden, and I don't think that's necessary. I think we can take the time to do it right. These are double murderers.
Vinny, it shows the power of a Netflix series, Monsters. But let's kind of take a step back. If George Gascon had initiated this process earlier, not a month before his highly contested re-election, the Menendez brothers would have been out by now. But there's really three things going on here, and timing matters and politics matters. Let's talk about this comprehensive risk assessment report. This is something that is not ordered until someone is before the parole board. Now, the governor's office received a clemency petition. So the governor ordered it, okay? The DA's office got a draft of this report on Tuesday, just a draft. The defense hasn't seen it. So the DA's office wants to introduce it today. It's just a draft. It's not the final report. So that's one problem with it. The second problem is it may be privileged. These documents are not subject to disclosure. There's an executive privilege here. And it may not even be admissible. So what is a resentencing hearing about? It's about, are the brothers rehabilitated? A risk assessment report is for the parole board, and it asks the question, are the brothers, do they pose an unreasonable risk to the public? It's not a factor to even be considered at sentencing. So the judge is like, this is stupid. Why are we talking about this report? I don't have the final. The defense doesn't have it. It may be privileged. Did the governor's office waive the privilege? And how is this even admissible? So by introducing this report into today's hearing, we didn't hear from the family members. We didn't hear from other inmates. We didn't hear from prison personnel. Everything that's actually relevant to a resentencing. This whole thing got pushed to May when really this report shouldn't have even been ordered until the brothers were deemed eligible for parole.
Kirk, what do you think's going on here? It's obvious, right? This DA wants no part of releasing the Menendez brothers. The prior DA did. So now the Menendez brothers got on the docket, and all of a sudden the thing is rolling forward. It's ultimately up to Gavin Newsom, the governor, at the end of the day. He has to put his signature on all of this. I just see a lot of people making a lot of noise, but I'm trying to figure out who is this more about people wondering how is the public going to react to this, or is this more about what should we do? Like what is justice for Jose and Kitty?
Well, it's got to be a little bit of both, right? And I would disagree with what you said earlier that, you know, given the circumstances that life without parole is some kind of break that they didn't get the death sentence, because the circumstances being what they were, I don't think that's easy to digest, Vinny. But as it relates to this hearing and what's going on, you know, we talk about that Netflix special, and it almost has more power than legal motions, right? They've been through habeas, they've been through all these different things, and here we are, right? And Mr. Hochman wants the defendants to do something, wants the Menendez brothers to do something to respect his authority to come in and just purge themselves, so to speak, so they can please him. And I think that has incited some anger in front of people. I certainly don't like seeing that sort of prosecutorial hubris coming forward. But ultimately, this really should be about, when we talk about resentencing, it's the things that Nima brought up, right? The how they've acted in prison, the rehabilitation, and to some extent, I think Mark Garagos and his defense team should be putting forward the risk of them to reoffend, because actuarial tables, age, things of that nature, the circumstance of the offense, probably, I would assume, make it a very low risk. I think Mr. Newsom, Governor Newsom, is doing all he can for the authorities to do the right thing, and clemency will be his last option.
Jared, do you think this is a dangerous case for the system of justice? Because you look at who the Menendez brothers are, right? They are famous. They've been famous since they committed the double murders. They're famous for the murders, but they're also famous for the sweaters. They're famous for being young and handsome. They're famous for being rich. You know, the tennis, the Princeton, all of that. And there's probably a whole bunch of other folks in there who might be a little angry that the Menendez brothers get the special treatment. They get the Netflix show, the privileged life growing up, whether or not you believe they were or were not. I think it's still in dispute about the level of abuse. What are your thoughts about the impact on the system that this case can have if these two get set free?
Well, I think their infamy here is playing against them. Their fame is why the DA Hochman has taken the position he has, why they became a political hot potato to begin with. And if they're set free, what does that say to some people? It says you can commit a double murder, and if you're privileged and were sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, 30 years later, we can reconsider that and your behavior behind bars and set you free. Now, Mark Garagos has taken the position that the law has changed. Their behavior and their post-conviction behavior behind bars, which I'll say is exemplary. Okay, they have been good inmates, should be considered. The law presumes they should be resentenced unless they are likely to commit a violent felony. So those are really the balancing acts that are taking place, but their fame is cutting against them here, Vinny.
All right, Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, another case that has grabbed so many headlines and has become very divisive on social media. I'm talking about the killing of Austin Metcalf at a track meet. Well, the defendant's mother speaking with her representatives at a press conference today, but that's not the story. The story is what happened just before the press conference.
In wake of this tragic incident, our family has been under attack. Whatever you think what happened between Karmelo and the Metcalf boys, my 3 younger children, my husband, and I didn't do anything to deserve to be threatened, harassed, and lied about.
This story, this stabbing has taken on a life of its own, so to speak, and this has become such a huge, divisive story, but sort of a lightning rod on social media. We're talking about what happened at that track meet in Texas, where Austin Metcalf was stabbed and killed by another runner named Karmelo Anthony. Now, Karmelo Anthony, out on bond, has been released, and that was his mother speaking today with some of the representatives at a press conference. And joining us, he's been covering the story from the beginning, Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas is here. And to me, the story at this press conference is what happened before this press conference today.
Absolutely, Vinny. The press conference was delayed almost an hour, around 50 minutes, and that's because the victim, Austin Metcalf's father, showed up uninvited and was refusing to leave. Now, we do have an image and video from this happening at the press conference. They were posted by CBS 11 reporter J.D. Miles. You see the image of Mr. Metcalf right there, and then they have video, or he posted video of him surrounded by police officers standing there talking with them before being escorted out eventually, and then the press conference got underway. Now, the presser was put on by this organization, NGAN, or the Next Generation Action Network, and the president of this organization began the press conference with these remarks regarding Mr. Metcalf's attendance. Take a listen to this.
Conference. The father being at this press conference. These are my words. Don't quote anybody. Is a disrespect to the dignity of his son. That was disrespectful and just shows you all the character. He was not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family.
So, Vinny, you heard it right there. That was clearly a scathing response to Mr. Metcalf being there by Mr. Dominique Alexander, the president of that organization.
Now, didn't he initially, when the father came out initially, I remember him talking about forgiveness.
Absolutely.
He's saying this had nothing to do with race and to get all of that out of the public discussion, trying to lower the temperature on all of this.
Absolutely. He publicly came out and said both of those things, not a race thing, not a black and white thing, and publicly forgiving Karmelo and his family, understanding that his family is also going through their own form of tragedy here as well.
And obviously, his tragedy much worse. He lost his son. Karmelo is still alive. But what the families are going through is probably the same.
Yeah.
They are now in the public spotlight. You know, the light is shining down. Everyone is talking about it. People have taken sides. They're digging in. Did he say why he was there? Was there any public statement from the father?
There was no public statement. He just came there. It was reported that he refused to leave. And Anthony's family actually are the ones who called the police just to go over there, talk to him, then eventually have him escorted out. But there was no violence. There were no, at least any reporting of it, but no scathing words between each other. He was just there, delayed.
Yeah, because based on the prior conduct and actions of the father, I almost would have expected almost like it could have been a very positive moment.
Right, like an amicable,
with the families.
Moment.
You know, something like, we saw that in Texas also in the accidental shooting years ago with the police officer, where the victim's brother hugged his brother's killer in the courtroom.
Both of them, Jean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what did the family say, Karmelo Anthony's family?
So both his father and mother were there. We only really heard from the mother, even though the father was in attendance. She acted as the spokesperson for the both of them for the family. Her main focus was really on the threats, the harassment, and everything they've endured since this stabbing took place earlier this month on April 2nd. So take a listen to what she says they've been enduring for the last few weeks.
Our address and my husband's previous employer's address has been put on all social media platforms. My husband had to take a leave of absence because he's afraid what may happen to our family. We have endured death threats. My 13-year-old daughter is afraid to sleep in her own bedroom because she's fearful of what may happen to her.
So Vinnie, you see, she was clearly very emotional about everything she was saying. She also went on to make sure the public heeds that they shouldn't believe a lot of the misinformation that's on social media, as it is still an ongoing investigation.
And this is what's happening now in every public controversy. You know, it's not politics per se, but it's sort of, you know, anything that's divisive and people latch on to, that's what they do. They go after anyone connected to it. You saw, I mean, in the Karen Reed case, that's as part of the allegations is what was going on there with people connected to that story. We see it in politics. We see it with the Supreme Court. We saw, it happens everywhere.
Numerous
it happens
examples.
Everywhere, and now a family is put into the middle of this for something that their son did. This is another part of what I think people are reacting to, though, is the money. A lot of money being raised. And, you know, I've got social media. I see on my feed, I get different things from different perspectives, but some things I saw some allegations that the family was buying houses and Cadillac Escalades with all the money they got as a result of their son stabbing Austin Metcalf.
Yeah, so those are the rumors circulating on social media.
Those are the rumors.
The rumors, the
you
allegations.
See it on social media, it's a rumor.
Especially on X. You know, X, you can see anything on there. So we know that Karmelo has reached almost $500,000 in public donation on the website Give, Send, Go, similar to GoFundMe. And as you were mentioning, there's been allegations that they've bought or rented a house upward of $900,000, new car. Mother says none of that is true. Take a listen.
Let me be clear. The claims that were used about the public donation to buy a home or anything else are completely false. We have not received a single dime from the Give, Send, Go fundraiser.
And Vinnie, the mother pretty much wraps up her spiel there during the press conference saying that she and her family do believe in the legal process in Texas and just hope that Karmelo is afforded a fair trial, as anyone should be in the state and in the country.
All right. Thanks so much, Cody. Let's go back to our think tank. Still with us, Jared Ferrantino, Kirk Nurmi, and Nima Rahmani. We have about 2 minutes total here, guys, just giving you a heads up. Kirk, let me begin with you. What are your thoughts? Do you think, was it disrespectful for the father of the victim to show up to see what the family of the young man who stabbed his son was going to say today?
Not in my view, and Vinnie, I think you touched on this. This could have been a great moment of healing, a great way to put the temperature down. Both families are going through some of the same things. They're both experiencing tragedy, and I think for a moment of healing was lost and turned into something that might escalate tensions.
Jared, how do you see this situation, the way it's playing out publicly, not in the courtroom yet, but playing out publicly, especially on social media and where the country has gone here?
Well, it's another wild one, Vinnie. And if Mr. Metcalf's intentions were amicable and peaceful, he should have done that without the press present. It's a tragedy all the way around. A young man is dead, and another young man shouldn't face trial. This is a case that should resolve, but it's going to continue to play out in the press, undoubtedly.
And when you say resolve, you don't mean dismiss charges, you mean come to some sort of an agreement.
No. This is a case that the defense attorney should meet with the prosecutor and get it resolved.
Gotcha.
I don't see a trial in this case. Where are you going?
Well, we'll see. Nima, what are your thoughts about the way all of this has developed?
Vinnie, it's expected. You know, unfortunately, a black young man kills a white young man, and we know how polarized race is in this country. So that's what I would expect. As far as the case is concerned, I think the challenge is defending the case. It seems like Anthony brought a knife to a fist fight, which can make it challenging. Obviously, Texas is a stand your ground case. They love self-defense there, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens, both in terms of those negotiations or if the case actually proceeds to trial.
All right, big thank you to our think tank, Jared Ferrantino, Kirk Nermi, Nima Romani. Awesome, we'll see you guys again soon. All right, when we come back, something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, Lori Daybell looking for a little more time to decide whether or not she will present any evidence to defend herself at her murder trial. She's already doing life, so why wouldn't she just testify? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
The entire family was slaughtered.
I tried to get them out. I wish I got it. It never happened.
That's not really how God works, is it?
Interview with a Killer. New episode, Sunday at 8 on Court TV.
Come.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. And there he is. Turtleboy will plead the fifth. What? For those of you not familiar with Turtleboy, he is the reason why there are hundreds of people supporting Karen Read outside the courthouse every day and thousands of them around the nation supporting Karen Read. He's been indicted on a separate charge of allegations of witness intimidation. He has pleaded not guilty and alleges a violation of his First Amendment rights. However, he was put on the witness list. So his attorney was in court today. He was there too, talking about what would happen if he testified.
You know, there's really no reason to beat around the bush here, Your Honor. The Commonwealth is not going to call my client, Mr. Carney, who for the record is in the second row here today.
Can I just ask, if he were to call your client, would he take the fifth?
Yes, Judge, and I just should clarify for that.
Okay.
That is under the government's, the obviously well-established position of Norfolk County law enforcement. What we contend is a twisted interpretation of the witness intimidation statute that seeking to contact witnesses, seeking to question people is witness intimidation.
Okay, so just focus back on...
So the answer is yes. I'm sorry. The answer is yes, Judge.
I find, and the Commonwealth concedes, that he does have a valid Fifth Amendment right. I find that there's a valid basis for him to invoke that Fifth Amendment privilege, and I find that if he were called to testify, he would in fact invoke that Fifth Amendment privilege. So based on that, he will be exempt from the sequestration order, except as to, and I need a list of the named witnesses who are the alleged victims in the current indictments.
And that's an important big win for Turtleboy, because he doesn't want to be sequestered outside the courtroom. He wants to report on this case. And now he'll be able to do that. So I think that was the play all along. All right, folks, before we go, please take a look at your television screens. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Ariyanna McDonald, missing out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, just 16 years old. May still be in the local area, could be in Kalamazoo, Michigan. She has a tattoo of a cross on her finger. She may have additional tattoos and may change her color hair and may go by the name Ari or Skylar. If you see her, pick up the phone, 911-1-800-THE-LOST, or the Grand Rapids Police Department in Michigan. That number's on your screen. Let's get her to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We've got another hour of live true crime. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.